I drank pots and pots and pots and pots of strong black coffee, trying to keep my sleepy soul awake. But the sleepiness still comes along, and when it does, it's fast and strong. I end up with a bad case of the shakes.
Hey, welcome to Coffee Talk with Guido. I hope you got your coffee. I've got my afternoon coffee. It's a Saturday afternoon and it's time to talk about some tanks. What are we going to cover? We'll talk some news. We've had another community contributor fired. That's kind of interesting. And a couple other things we'll talk about, and we'll get into the website as far as the info on there and some of the missions that are going on, and an interesting change for strongholds. And at the end of it, we'll do something a little bit different. I'm going to grab a map. We're going to take a look at that, and we'll talk initial positioning and how to fight the map. Let's get started. All right, first thing in the news, we have a community contributor that was just let go, fired, whatever you would like to call it. Apparently, iChase Gaming. See right here, it says, "Hello, iChase Gaming. After being pulled into a global email about your video and one other, I have come to the conclusion that being a part of the global contributor program may not be the best place for your brand. I do not want to control your content," meaning I can't control your content, "but as a member of the global contributor program, saying such things as somebody needs to be effing fired," or whatever he said. All right, so this is a World of Warships, at least the video that this guy did, iChase Gaming. And he was very critical of the Graf Zeppelin, which is the new carrier, one of the new carriers. It's a premium carrier, German carrier. And he goes into detail what he didn't like about it, said it was pretty much a POS and such. And that's not the important part. Neither is the fact that they can let people go, but they really seem to have an issue with this messaging thing. If anybody goes off the reservation at all, does anything they don't like, all of a sudden they're getting rid of them. And that seems to be part and parcel for how they run things, and that's kind of interesting and a little bit disturbing. But as I said, they can do that. They can certainly do that. They have every right to do that. But how does that look to us? I've discussed this at length as far as their public relations go, and they really do buffoon it quite a bit. It looks like they made Meathead carry the dirty water. He's signed this thing, and now they have got rid of this guy. He's no longer a community contributor. Now, does that mean he can't play the game? No. Does it mean he can't make contributions, make content? No. But it does hurt him a little bit because he had early access to things and such as that. So that is interesting. So that kind of thing is still going on. Being critical of the company will get you in hot water. But again, they can completely control that. That is up to them. I just thought you'd be interested in seeing that. And quick plug for the Armored Patrol, which has a lot of good info. That's where I got that information on iChase Gaming. So make sure you give those guys a look over there. In the next piece of information, next news, we've got Thane Lyman. I think you probably recognize that guy. He's been in a lot of the videos. He's the head of the PC development for, or head of PC, World of Tanks PC, however you want to say it. And he is stepping down or moving or was fired. I don't know. It says publicly he's stepping down and he's staying with the company. So who knows what that means, whether it's a promotion or a sideways move or just a reshuffling. Now, he was one of the few Western guys on the team over there, and I think he probably did a lot to help us. So this will be interesting to see where we go from here. I haven't always agreed with him, but I will tell you that I almost always agreed with the way he presented things, which seemed to be balanced and reasonable for the most part. So this will be interesting. I could be making a lot of ado about nothing. It could be a good thing that we get somebody else in there. I always say we, like I'm part of the company. Obviously, I'm not. I mean, we as the community who enjoy playing the game. Take that for what it's worth. We, because I'm involved here, aren't I? Anyway, so he is moving on. We'll see what we get after this. So I don't think necessarily that it's some big problem or there was a big issue or anything. And we'll see where he goes. Maybe he pops up somewhere else. But anyway, Thane, we do appreciate what you did, even if we didn't always agree with what you were doing. Good luck to you, and let's see what we get after that. Yeah, so also in the news was the server merger. Obviously, that just happened. There's been a lot of posts in it for it on the forums. A lot of positive, a lot of negative. Me personally in Florida, I haven't seen much change in the ping. What I have seen is I haven't had the huge packet loss issues so far. So for me personally, that's been actually pretty good. Let me know down in the comments how the server merger has gone for you. If you were further away from it, then that's probably not a great thing. If you're on the East Coast, you're probably having a little bit worse time of it. But in general, the United States infrastructure is good enough that it shouldn't have been a big deal. But if it was a big deal, let me know. I'd be curious. Let me know where you're from and what it did to you. And finally in the news, 9.20 is coming. I understand on the 29th or 30th, potentially for us, maybe the 31st. At least that is what I have seen so far. RU is supposed to get it first, and then we will end up getting that afterwards. And so you're looking at 3 or 4 days, sometime midweek next week, more than likely, if not early in the week. That being said, I have not covered it very much in Coffee Talk because there are a lot of changes. And because I don't know what the final numbers are, I've characterized it in general as a large armor buff, typically to turrets for mediums, and then a little bit of targeted nerfs and adjustments within some of the super heavies, particularly the Japanese line in particular. Also, if you're interested to read what's out there right now, if you go to news and information on the website, and if you scroll down here, and you can see where it's got German tanks, 9.2, 9.2 French tanks, and these were dropped by Dance. So they're a little bit old from the 22nd, 28th, but it gives you the general idea. I don't think any of those numbers have changed a whole bunch, maybe a little bit here and there based on the test. Here's an original by Cabbage Mechanic with 9.20 vehicle balance notes, so that's got some of the basics as well. So if you want to delve into 9.20 to at least get a general idea, I'd suggest diving into those initially. Just kind of peruse through, and I think you'll find out pretty quickly that it's just buffing a lot of turrets. I believe what they're doing, my opinion only, is starting to use gold ammo as the standard pen to armor value that they use. So they're just buffing a lot of armor because of all the gold proliferation. That's a whole nother subject which we can talk about at another time. That is it for the news. Alright, for the website info and sales, we'll start with the sales. I wanted to talk about those this week because there are a lot of tanks for sale. If you're still spending money on the game, go for it. That's awesome because there's quite a few in here. You can see the Mutz is back in. They call the classics. What they've done a big package for the low, the 34 and the IS-6. So if you want all those extra goodies in there, otherwise you could buy it as normal. You can still buy the Primo Victoria, the Sabaton tank, Centurion 1 hybrid thing. That's still available. S71 was already in there. The Lorraine is still available for right now, as is the Pudel. So there are a lot of tanks that are, I wouldn't necessarily call them super rare, but potentially could be rare, especially that Sabaton thing. If you want this thing, you probably need to get it now because it's going to be licensed through the Sabaton guys, and whether or not Wargaming has the license to sell it later on, it's going to depend on how the contract was written. So who knows what's going to happen with that. The Mutz has made an appearance, and you can see the other ones. The Lorraine, I don't believe it was in there for a while, and now it is. So, like I said, lots of tanks in there. If you want kind of a collector and want to do that, you may want to jump on some of those things. I'm not going to make any comments on whether it's worth it or what the prices are that they pay. That's beyond the scope of at least this part. If I had a critique on it, it would be a separate part, but just so you know, there they are. All right, we'll move on to missions here. We go up to the missions tab and see what's going on. Not a big change from last week after we talked, or before we talked even, to be quite honest. You can see that I'm playing way too much as usual, and I've done a lot of these. So I'm done with my Tank Academy roll call. You're probably pretty close to it too. This one's going to go to September 1st, so we are getting towards the end. If you do want to try to knock this out, realize that you don't have a whole lot of days left to get the Roll Call Academy thing out of the way. The JPZ is currently the on track. As I've noted before, if you are grinding up a line, that's a good one to do. When I say a good one to do, not necessarily the JPZ, but it's good to do an on track while you grind because of the bonuses you get. TankRewards.com is still going. We're grinding on until September 25th, so that's quite a long time, more than a month, or right around a month. You can see that I finished these for, and you know, I was looking this when I was deciding what I was going to do for Tank Talk, Coffee Talk, sorry. Coffee Talk. When I was deciding what I wanted to do, I always kind of look through and see what's going on with the missions in case there's some info I could give you. And I don't have any info to give you, but I do have, again, another comment on how they lay these things out. So if you can understand this, please put it in the comments and fix me, because if I'm broke on what I'm saying here or looking at, maybe I'm missing the logic of it. But you'll see that it says 1 of 6, which I'm assuming is one of the 6 of these big squares that's going to show up, right? And it's the first 4 missions that came out, but one of them happened to, well, there's the 10, the 20. One of them happened to be the first special mission, so it got thrown in with 1 of 6, right? First Contact South, and I finished that. Then the second mission came out, special mission, they made a whole nother big box for it, and they called it 2 of 6. Now I get it, there's going to be 6 of 6 eventually, but what is going on here? Because 2 of 6 is up here, which I finished, and then I'm thinking, well, that's weird, we're going up, but now we're not going up, now we're going down, and now 3... All right, guys, help me here. What am I missing? What am I missing? Why? So, I know I belabor this stuff a little bit, but on the off chance that somebody who's designing this for the players actually watches this, come on, man. Come on, man. Just put this down here together. First of all, let's back this up. Daily counter's great. Thank you. Fantastic. Thank you for putting that in there. Now I know what in the heck I've done and how many are available. That is awesome. I don't have to do the math. I'm bad at math. Next you do the 2 dailies right here. Daily 1, daily 2. You don't put Contact South, which is the first kind of specialized mission, in the middle of the other 3 on card 1 and then make a separate card for some of the other specialized missions. You don't do that. Maybe you just did these 3 and then one card per space, because these started on specific days and went to specific days. Or you just put this card down below and then you add all the other special missions as you go, and you don't even have to do this 1 of 2, 1 of 6, 2 of 6, 3 of 6, which is just confusing. And then and then why is it 1, 2 and then go below for 3? Can somebody please explain that to me? If you have an explanation that makes sense, I would love to have it, because I am so confused. On the bright side, they're making strides here. I don't know why it's taking so long. For the life of me, I can't figure that one out. But they are getting there, and for example, the daily counter, thank you. You're getting close, fellas. You're getting close. All right, now for this last bit here, before we get to the map room, I actually do appreciate this part. And this goes into the end tier discussion and other things I've talked about, but there's been a change with how you can get some of the resource boxes for strongholds. It used to be that all you could do was fight with your clan and then you would get boxes, but for people like me who solo a lot but are also in a clan, you can now actually contribute a little bit to your clan's stronghold boxes. And the way you do that is you're going to click on Stronghold, and I'm going to show you how to see what you've done. Click on Stronghold, you go to Personnel, you go find your name, and I happen to be down here. And then you can hover over your name here, there it is, right over the number of boxes. And you can see that I have 330 boxes, and I haven't played a single skirmish, or Stronghold, or Advance, or any of that stuff. But I got it, if you look in the middle there, it's all through random battles in Tier 10 vehicles. So, if you play random battles in Tier 10 vehicles, then you can bring in resource boxes for your stronghold, for your clan. And I think that's pretty cool, because it lets you kind of do some clan stuff even while you are playing solo. And it adds a little extra feature on top of playing solo battles in randoms. Now, it is only Tier 10, so you do have to get to the end tier, kind of end game content idea, so that's actually okay. I don't have a problem with that. Thanks, Wargaming. That was actually a pretty cool addition. You see some of my other clan mates, and I thought, oh, I made 300. That's amazing. And then one of these guys is at 3,000. Woo! They do a lot of the skirmish stuff up there. I will say what that's going to do, though, because you've got a lot of really good players in the big clans who do a lot of solo play at Tier 10. That's going to really crank out some resource boxes. So I don't know if that's going to flood the economy or what. We'll see. That remains to be seen on how it goes. But I thought that was actually a pretty cool addition. And just go through those steps if you want to see how you're doing. All right, have another drink of coffee. We're going to throw another thing in here because we're going to talk about a question and answer with Anton Pankov. I found this on Rita's blog, so recommended reading is take a look at Rita's blog, the Armored Patrol, and the Daily Bounce. Those are three pretty good sources of information or misinformation, depending on what you believe, I guess. The first part of it's talking a lot about the Chinese stuff. They do have other lines like lights and artillery. They're talking about whether to bring them in or not. No decision, it looks like. They're looking to sell a Tier 9 premium on the Chinese server. If you don't know, the Chinese server has a lot of kind of wacky stuff going on. Zhugang, I believe, is the company. They operated under license in China, and China kind of does its own thing, so as you're well aware of, or should be if you're not. Unique content, things like gold Type 59s that have, I don't know what it is, 4 times experience in gold. It's something crazy. I'm sure one of you guys know what it is. Throw it down there in the comments if you do. The WT E100, they're not planning on doing it in other regions outside of China. So for example, they're getting it some kind of WT E100 premium tank over in China, which is crazy. The idea of replacing the 4215 with Super Conqueror was Mirzor's idea. This seems to be the flavor of the week or the flavor of the month. They're taking out problematic tanks and replacing them, but letting you keep the tank, especially at Tier 10, since you work to get it. I don't know. I guess it's cool. It's nice not to have your tank yanked out from under you. As a side note, I did like the 215 because it was unique. It's unfortunate that it just doesn't work in the meta very well and people don't like it very much, but it was a pretty cool tank. And that's unfortunate because it decreases some of the flavor of the game. But I do understand that it's not a very good tank, really. Let's see. People talking about wanting to buy a Tier 9. So this is a bizarre comment to me. Many people with a huge amount of battles, 20,000 or so, ask for the ability to buy a premium at Tier 9. Okay. I've never really heard, I mean, I've heard people say, hey, how about Tier 9 or 10 premiums, but is everyone like yelling for it? I don't think so. I don't know where that comes from. But they must have information I don't have. It says there are a lot of plans for substitutes replacements, but only at Tier 10. It could solve a large number of problems. I don't what problems. That's really just kind of the dangling comment right there. More plans for the Soviets. Again, the whole idea of replacing the IS-4 with some kind of ST-2 with 2 guns, that's still floating around out there, but they say they've got some technical work. Unknown if that will ever happen. This was interesting to me. There's a large amount of subjectivity with tank performance, especially regarding things like the WZ-111 or the IS-7 being so-so. They spend a lot of time talking about how they look at the numbers and all their changes are very specific according to the numbers and the stats. And then he wants to tell us that there's a large amount of subjectivity to how tanks perform. Well, that about covers it, man. That way you can make an excuse for anything, can't you? New patch will be 920.1. That's interesting. Or next patch. I'm assuming that's after 920. They're going to do more balancing next year in 2018, going to February to April or so. So you can expect a bunch more armor buffs is what I would read into that, as they continue to make gold ammo the standard by which they balance pen to armor. They talk a little bit about the KV-5 and then something in here that's, I was going to say it's going to make people mad. I think maybe not as much now with the way the matchmaker is, because what they're talking about is taking away the preferred matchmaking from the Tier 8 premiums that have it, the IS-6, KV-5, WZ, 112, all those kind of tanks. That's interesting. I don't know how I feel about that, but I will tell you that the premium matchmaking or preferred matchmaking is not nearly as powerful as it used to be. It's still a good thing if you're carrying a lot of gold as well, but with the power creep on some of the new premiums, with the buffs to armor that's happening kind of across the board, I'm not so sure it wouldn't be a bad thing to get a little more pen out of some of these preferred premiums and then lose the preferred status. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. This was also interesting to me, and it's the second time I've heard it, but I've never heard anyone else talk about it like it mattered, except maybe over at the other website that talks about this quite a bit. at Watt Labs. With the new rating system, we really want to increase the player's perception of their skill in a particular machine. This could be a translation thing, but increase the player's perception of their skill in a particular machine. Real skill. I don't even know where to start with that. But what I heard last time was they wanted to make the stats of individual tanks the most important thing. Well, fellas, I'm going to tell you something. You don't decide which stats are most important to players. Just so you're aware that you probably need to wrap your mind around that, because the players actually end up deciding that as the meta develops around your game. You can attempt to shift fires and kind of move them in a direction you want, but this is a fundamental misunderstanding that this development team has. Your intentions only matter up to the point where they meet the players playing the game. Your intentions only matter up to the point where they meet the players playing the game. And then you have to pay attention to what the players give a crap about. That's how it works. Now, you can ignore it. You can certainly ignore it, but that's how you lose customers. They aren't going to cover names in chat yet. There's no active work on that, so that's the whole keep my stats and my name from being seen. And continuing to watch ranked battles. There's actually some news on switching around ranked battles. I'll talk about that a little later. They are going to change that. There's a new season coming up. I actually went out and said I didn't think ranked battles would ever come back again. It looks like they're planning on bringing it back with I wouldn't say significant changes. Maybe there's significant changes, but they're not radical. Let's put it that way. They are going to change quite a bit about it. And in that case, it does sound like they are listening to the players. Come over here. There's a part 2 to that on Rita's blog. Continuation right here. This is the ranked battles thing. There it is, the 3rd season and stuff like that. They're continuing to develop bonds, and in fact, they said they wanted bonds to take over gold in some instances, but there's no details on what that means. So I got to be honest with you guys. I don't know why you need another currency. I'm kind of not understanding the whole idea behind the bonds. I do get that they buy specific things, and maybe that's what you're trying to get at because they get the good equipment or whatever. But it's strange to have another kind of currency into the game to me. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. More customization is being looked at. And I think that's always a good idea because people want to put little goofy things on their tank, and as long as it doesn't get too crazy, who cares, you know? I actually liked that they gave some bonuses in the past, but I do understand the pay to win. Not in the past. They were planned to give bonuses in the past, and that never happened. And I do understand that's a pay to win idea. I just sort of like that a little bit. Let's see. We're pretty satisfied with Artie and random battles, though there have been a few bad points. Okay, I'm not going to go there. I'm not taking the bait. There really isn't any sort of quick adjustment we can make at the moment. We are focused on working on high-tier light tank. That came out of nowhere. We're focused on working on the high-tier light tanks. My assumption is that is in regards to the Artie situation. So I may be reading too much into that. I don't think he's trying to say that our focus game-wise is dealing with the light tanks, because of all the things we just talked about, they have a lot of focuses at this point. But if that's true, that's kind of interesting, because maybe they're trying to get lights back into the business of actually countering Artie, which they're not. Currently, they're in the business of being smacked by Artie. They're almost irrelevant to Artie. Mediums are just as good at killing Artie as lights are, to be quite honest. So yeah, that was interesting right there. When you say there isn't a sort of quick adjustment we can make, okay, see, I'm not going there. I almost got triggered. I want to work of personal missions, as I want more people to be able to get through them. I like that, actually, and I think they always need to be adjusting their personal missions, because that's a secondary and tertiary effect of changing their game in general. Even armor buffs, matchmaker changes, things like that are going to make them have to adjust some of those personal missions, and they've already done a couple of those, so good on them for paying attention. So it looks like they're still going to work on that. Hey, if you're watching this, could you get rid of the Object MT-15 4,000 damage to only TDs mission? It's driving me crazy. All right. A lot of balance changes planned for this year. I think that goes without saying. We've seen that multiple places. Here's the light tank thing again, and now he's just not the high tier. I think the light tanks are fine, actually, except for the tier 10. The tier 10 are awful. Otherwise, I think they're just good. This one is spectacular. This is the best, and I'm glad it was last because we're saving the best for last. All right. Just read that. I want you guys to read that right there. You intentionally didn't give players a birthday tank, which is usually a tier 3, collector's item kind of thing. Because you've been reproached for many years to just give 10,000 silver and a garage slot. You have got to be kidding me. Really? I mean, every time you gave these out, I know a lot of people came on the forums and went, this is a piece of junk. I just sell it and I get the garage slot. So in essence, they got 10,000 silver and a garage slot. Good on them. Completely within their rights. More people, I guarantee you this, more people went, cool, here's a collector tank. And to tell me that you didn't give it because you've been reproached. Dude. That is complete bollocks. Complete bollocks. All right, let's go to the map room and talk some tactics, man. All right, that is it for this weekend's Coffee Talk. I know I said we'd do a map room, but I started messing around with it, and I decided I was actually going to do that as a standalone video series. So look forward to those. Map room coming to you. Well, I'll look at different maps and give you an idea how to play them. So we talked about the news. Got a community contributor fired. Thane is out as a lead for PC Watt or Watt PC. Let me know how the server merger went for you. 9.20 is on its way. We discussed at length the strongholds, the missions, and the sales, and then we went into the question and answer for quite a long time. Some interesting things there. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have another cup of coffee. Play some tanks, and let me know what you thought down in the comments section later.